Good evening, dear friends. Bon appetit to everyone who is eating. Well, YouTube is not showing us anything. Even if you press the speed up button, even if you try to speed up to twice the speed, or even 4 times, it still doesn't help, it turns out. That's why I'm filming this video for our descendants. In 100, 200, 300 years, let them watch and learn how to breathe properly. So, dear descendants, dear great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, watch this. You probably all have microchips, half robots, but you still breathe most likely to this day. Your breathing is easy, not labored, so this video is dedicated to you. With less clean air and fewer trees, it's more crucial than ever to breathe correctly. So, friends, let's start with a test, an intellectual test. Well, write down which is the correct way to breathe, thoracic or abdominal. Let's see, how many of you are here? We got a score of 50 on the intelligence quotient this time. All right, so the next test is on your mobility. Those of you who think you need to breathe with your stomach, try to take a maximum possible inhale and maximum exhale with your stomach. Inflate your stomach to the size of an air balloon and exhale. Time it or evaluate the depth of your breath. How much you can do in terms of liters of air drawn in, or by the duration of inhale-exhale in seconds. Those who think that the chest should participate in breathing do the same. Those who think that it's mixed do the same. Time it so there's no confusion. Do it in seconds. Who has the maximum inhale-exhale in seconds with the chest? How many seconds you do it with the stomach? And now, let's see what Anton Alekseev thinks is the correct answer. He will now give you the correct way to breathe. So, friends, neither chest breathing nor stomach breathing is correct. The correct breathing happens due to the movement of the ribs on the transverse joints. Have you ever wondered why there are joints here? Why are joints needed here? Why is movement needed here? I answer your question, it is needed for breathing. If our chest did not participate here in breathing, then we would not have joints here, just a solid bone. But answer me, how about chest breathing? Here too the chest can move. There is a hinged part of the ribs. But now look how our breathing changes over time. Over time, changes in movement occur depending on the absence of movement in some parts. In the norm, the maximum inhale can be made using the mobility of the ribs on the transverse joints. If they move well, if during inhalation the rhomboid muscle is relaxed, not strained, if the posterior and upper serratus muscles work well, you can make a full inhale and a good exhale, not due to the expansion of the front part of the chest, but due to good mobility here from the back. Age-related changes that occur in our body affect many organs and systems. Our task is to live as long as possible to make all this fun continue. The respiratory system also undergoes various changes. Not only the lungs and bronchi change with age, but also the shape of the chest itself and the mechanism of breathing. And you need to know how it changes in order to control, to change, and to start the reverse process. There are various recommendations, various breathing exercises. Many of them have a positive effect, but there are even more that have a negative effect. For example, breathing with your stomach, conversely, is incorrect and leads to very bad consequences. So, friends, here is our norm. So, we have a starting point that we need to strive for depending on where you are at the moment. You need to understand how the ribcage works during inhalation and exhalation and how it changes with restriction and mobility primarily of the joints. Here, Between the ribs and the spine, there are rib cross joints that play a huge role in breathing. When their mobility is limited, a deformation of the rib cage occurs, because normally when we breathe, the main movement should occur here in these joints between the vertebrae and the ribs. And if a person begins to feel some need to increase the intake of oxygen, they try to inhale deeper. And at this moment, the mobility of these joints should allow this to happen. Also, the mobility of these joints ensures the movement of the ribs in this direction, and the rib cage itself should be wide enough in this direction so that nothing interferes with the movement of the diaphragm, and for the lungs to easily expand during inhalation. There should also be a good exhalation process. Several muscles participate in the exhalation: the oblique muscles of the abdomen, in addition to the diaphragm. The main muscle that works both during inhalation, it also takes a huge part in the exhalation. And the quadratus lumborum muscle, as well as the subcostal muscle, about which few people know, along with its function specifically in breathing. So friends, the first thing that happens in our breathing is that a restriction arises in these rib cross joints. Why does the restriction occur? Because, first of all, when we sit, this whole part, it touches the back of the chair, table, couch, or whatever you're sitting on. And therefore, it becomes harder for all these joints to work, and breathing begins to change. The front part of the chest cage begins to be included more. If in a calm state nothing bad will happen from this, then under loads this part of the rib cage cannot move so quickly, because it is cartilaginous, and here the mobility is better. That is, under loads, with frequent breathing, all these joints are managed here. The muscles also matter, the ones located between the blades. Here is the back, upper, and lower serratus muscle, as well as the rhomboid muscle. And they also participate in breathing. They also influence this. And very often an incorrect breathing pattern arises when during a deep breath a person tries to inhale and connect the blades. So he will start to move more this part of the chest instead of this part. That is, the first thing that happens is the limitation of mobility here and the increase in mobility of this part of the chest. At this stage, there will be no particular problems at rest, but there will be a feeling of lack of air, lack of oxygen during some physical exertion. Further, everything begins to progress more if the person also begins to physically exert themselves, do breathing exercises, or play a flute. But at this rate, the mobility here is not restored. So when a person does any activity that requires a bigger volume of inhalation-exhalation, the stomach begins to engage because there is not enough mobility here. The diaphragm begins to descend during inhalation. It begins to press on the organs of the abdomen. Pelvis also adjusts to this. The quadriceps muscle of the loins here and here shortens. The straight muscle of the abdomen relaxes to give the diaphragm the opportunity to go down here. That is, the lungs increase in all directions. Here, 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 here. They increase in volume. Mainly this movement happens here backwards due to the fact that this part here is working. Here, due to the fact that this part is working. And here, due to the fact that the lower part of the legs tends to go down. That is, here is such a movement, here is such a movement, and here is such a movement. 3 different directions. The worst thing is this. All exercises, all breathing exercises, where you try to inhale at the expense of the stomach, they lead to the fact that in addition to the fact that the volume of the lungs begins to decrease because you exhale wrongly, due to the constant inflation of the stomach, you exhale. but your oblique muscles stretch. Then the exhalation becomes very bad. You constantly have a residual volume of air in your lungs. In the unnecessary direction forward, right here, the intercostal spaces increase. So in the unnecessary direction forward here, the intercostal spaces increase. So, friends, our task is to return from this position to this. So the first thing we need to do is restore the tone of the transverse abdominal muscle, the oblique abdominal muscles, remove the excessive tension of the quadratus lumbar muscle, and also change the position of the sacrum. Here we need to restore the mobility of the ribs right here at the back. So, friends, let's proceed with this. The first thing we need to do is to restore the correct breathing mechanism. During inhalation, we need the quadratus lumbar muscle to relax. Very often it doesn't do this. Very often, instead of it, the abdomen starts to relax. For this to happen, there is such a wonderful exercise. Take a roller or a pillow that you can use it at home. Lie on your back, put it under your buttocks, and now your task is to reach out with your lower back, put your lower back on the floor. That is, it is lifted up, and your task is to reach here to the floor. This is your lower back. It should be lifted here. If it's not lifted, take a bigger pillow. And from this position, press your lower back to the floor. While doing this, the stomach will be strained. If you can't do it, bend your legs. Stay in this position for 1 to 3 seconds, then lift your pelvis again. Again, put some strain and then lift. Like this, repeat 10 times. Start slowly to improve mobility, and then put down your lumbar region. If possible, straighten your legs. If not, then start with them bent, and lie in this position for 30 seconds. Here, the abdominal muscles are strained, and the quadriceps muscle of the thigh will relax. For these 30 seconds, you'll have to breathe somehow, right? Due to the tension of the abdominal muscles, you will learn to breathe using the quadriceps muscle and relaxing it. The point of this exercise is that our pelvis rotates, the lumbar goes back, the quadriceps muscle relaxes, and at the same time the straight muscle of the abdomen tenses up, not allowing to breathe into the abdomen. So, this is our first one. Second, here, in this case, there is a reduction in the distance between the navel and the ribs. Here it is. This very distance, it also becomes less and less, and it also affects the depth of breathing. To eliminate this disorder, take the same roller. Lie down and put it practically in the area of the lower edge of the blade. Lie down. The roller should be soft. The most important thing is not to put under the waist, but under the lower edge of the blade. Hands go up like this. Adjust the height of the roller so that you do not have any discomfort. If you can't lift your hands like this, spread them wider. Do it so that the elbow is free. And in this position, you just lie down, rest. If it's uncomfortable with your hands up, you can just put them to the sides or down here. And in this position, we lie for a minute. Start with 1 minute. Then gradually you can up this time to 5 minutes. Here, there is a stretch of the upper part of the straight muscle of the abdomen, and due to this, the diaphragm becomes easier to move. Because very often, precisely due to the shortening of the upper part of the straight muscle of the abdomen, the mobility of this part of the abdomen is limited, and the lower part of the abdomen begins moving too much. The upper part of the abdomen can participate in breathing. Nothing bad will happen from this. During inhalation, it is better if your abdomen inflates higher than lower, because if the movement occurs here, it does not affect the tension of the quadriceps muscle negatively. But if it's down here, then it already begins to strain excessively. That is, for the second exercise, we lie on the roller. Here we put it under the lower edge of the shoulder blades. The third exercise is for increasing the mobility of the upper part of the ribs. Very often, these two upper ribs stop moving. The scalene muscles must hold them at a certain height, but because the shoulder very often shifts here forward, these ribs, they are practically completely excluded from breathing. To include them again in breathing, the first thing to do is to give regular load to the muscle that lifts the shoulder blade so that it holds the shoulder at a certain height. This is this whole group of exercises where you lift shoulders near the wall. Like this. Lifting the shoulders, 2-3 sets, turning the hands like this. If the hands are not turned, then the load will be on the upper trapezius. If you turn your palms forward, then the muscle that lifts the blade will work more. That was the first thing. Now, the second thing. Because of our constant being in a straight standing position, because we spend a lot of time with our heads looking down like this, the neck muscles shorten and stop holding the spine in the right position. In order for them to be able to participate in breathing again, lie down like this on your stomach. Put your hands under your chin in this position. You will simultaneously have a stretch from the muscles on the front surface of the neck, and the mobility in the chest section of the spine will increase. Also, this position allows movement of the upper ribs during inhalation. That is, for the first exercise, you passively stretch the muscles and spine in this position and prepare it. If you can't do it in this position, then do it like this. Do this for 30 seconds to a minute. You lay down, then put your hands like this and just lay down here, breathing. Here, due to the position of the head, due to the position of the thoracic spine during inhalation-exhalation, the scalene muscles begin to perform some function. That is, they practically do not work during the day. They are activated during breathing only in this position, when your head relative to the chest will be like this. Then, when you inhale, they will pull the first and the second rib up and down. It is preferable you do this at least 30 seconds a day. Well, that is only if you need scalene muscles, if you are interested in them. They don't really participate anywhere else in life. They may shorten and overstrain, pinching down the nerves, then your hand weakens. So it's preferable you do this exercise sometimes. But by the way, maybe they are developed in some people, like painters who have their hands up like this all day. This position activates them, or maybe this position, but it's like animals. They walk like this, so we inherited these muscles. But they work differently now. Well, let's finish today's recovery of our lungs and rib cage with an exercise to correct this protruding belly. For this, you need to put strain on the transverse abdominal muscle. For this, there is a classic exercise where you are in a tilt, or you can do it sitting. But at first, it's better in a tilt. The muscles are easier to feel. During exhalation, you maximally contract your muscles. During inhalation, you relax. During exhalation, you contract. During inhalation, you relax. This exercise is better than nothing, but it also forms the same incorrect motor stereotype. During inhalation, it makes you relax your abdomen. But ideally, during inhalation, you need to maintain your abdomen's tone. The transverse muscle of the abdomen should not relax during inhalation. It should maintain tone. During inhalation, the quadriceps muscle in the lower back should relax. That's why the exercise is like this. That is, you lean over and inhale, but at the same time you do not relax your stomach. Then you exhale, trying to pull in your stomach even more. Inhale. Don't relax. You try to inhale exactly with this place. That is, in order for your breath to occur. Like this place between the ribs. So you do it right here so that your ribs moved, these lower ones. So that they moved and inflated themselves, so to speak. Not here, though. Your abdomen shouldn't inflate here. It should be inflated right there instead. There's also a gluteal muscle. Have you ever seen this creature? So, friends, the exercise is as follows. Try to inflate yourself like this. Don't worry, that will never happen. Then exhale and pull in your stomach. Inhale, the quadriceps muscle of the loins inflates. And exhale. Inhale, inflate the 12th rib here so that it finally started to move, and exhale, pulling in the stomach. So friends, these exercises allow to preserve or restore the correct pattern of the breathing mechanism and maintain health, success, fun, and prosperity. Well, until new broadcasts, most likely no one will see this video anyway because YouTube is down. But maybe our descendants will see this in a century. They'll also find it helpful. Until new broadcasts, friends.